on the Dharma bus.
I don't appreciate it.
Oops. I don't have to do anything with this. Is that okay? Online? We're good? Okay. So, I've got all this stuff, right? I like to be prepared just in case. And you know what the gods say about a plan? Just laughing at it. So it's nice to have some structure held loosely. It's like our ego. You want it semi-permeable. Little holes in it so light peeks through. Not so tight. Strings too tight, they break. Too loose, there's no sound. So the middle way. The only thing we have to do here is to get in touch with the teachings and ourselves, clearly in touch. And in touch, it's not cognitive. It's a sense. A sense. It's about life. So we didn't grow up in a palace, or some of us didn't, like Buddha did. And it takes suffering, a big shock to wake us up sometimes. And we all come here for all different reasons. But maybe some of it, the bottom line, is that how are we going to wake up? How do I understand this? What is this? What is this? This. So for Siddhartha, he had to see sickness, old age, and death. Blew his mind. And it was out of that, his own suffering, that he wanted to see what was really there. He had to come out of the palace to see what's real life. He had his palace glasses on. So he had to take them off to see. And that's what we do too. Buddha's path is no different than ours. So how do we see what's really there? And it's a face-to-face thing. If he hadn't peeked out and seen an old person, a sick person, and a corpse, we might not be here. But who knows? Something else may have happened. But he had to lean into that suffering to see. Lean in, be with it, to see that. And so that's what we're doing here, investigating, seeing what's real. And now Siddhartha, we know, studied with all sorts of different teachers, and he did all sorts of austerities and found what worked the best for him. Eventually was sitting down and shutting up. And that's what we're doing here. So honoring that, honoring these things inside ourselves. The Dharma is the teaching of everyday life. It ain't out there. And it is, and it's here. So I had a very interesting experience. I went to Paris with some other women physicians, and we didn't talk about medicine at all. It was wonderful. And I knew 4 of them, and the other 6 I didn't know. But we had a wonderful time. And my roommate was a woman that I worked with in Green Bay. And Kelly's husband had given her some money to go buy herself something special. And she was pretty excited. And she goes, Mary, we have to go to the Golden Triangle. And I was like, I thought that was in Cambodia. Like, but it's this.
Something special.
It's looking for something special. It's like, and it was this. It's this. Paris is such a beautiful city, and the architecture is just lovely. And it's literally a triangle where all these fashion houses started. They're kind of in the same area. And so Kelly and I got off the metro, and we were standing in front of the house of Dior. And we were looking at each other. I felt pretty intimidated. It's so weird about these things. And what brought it back to me was I was this poor Irish girl going to the country club, and I didn't know what to do with the finger bowl. They'll give you a finger bowl and put your fingers in there. And then you dry them off. And don't pick up your fork before that. Okay. God. So we're standing outside and we looked at each other and went, I'm feeling pretty awkward. And Kelly said, yeah, me too, but it's okay. It might be really neat in there. And what I thought about immediately was the story of the 7 women who decided to go to the charnel grounds on a beautiful spring day because someone said, why would we go there? He goes, oh, we might find something nice there. It's like, okay. So there are these guards on either side, and they're really guards, but they look like really nice people. They're not crabby looking. So intimidating. The door is held open, and we walked in, and it's absolutely beautiful. And we were kind of looking around and looking like the Midwest, I think. And and this lovely young woman comes up and goes, may I help you? Are you looking for anything in particular? And I said, it just came out, well, I'm really here to worship at the temple. And she cracked up and she goes, well, then I will give you a tour. I said, okay. So we went to each section, and she introduced us to the people behind the counter. And it was with such warmth and sweetness. It was amazing to me. It was great. No crankiness at all. And it didn't matter how I was dressed. None of that mattered. And then she started going toward a door outside. And Kelly and I thought she was giving us the boot because we weren't going to buy anything. No, that wasn't so. So here it is. This is the Dharma of Dior. Not always so. Right there. Unexpected. She took us out the door to show us another part of the building, which was the original Dior, little tiny place, because she wanted us to get the whole experience. And it was amazing to me. It was so sweet. And so I looked at Kelly and said, and then we went back in and we saw some other things as well. And then she put us in this one room where this is where they design all these special clothes, but they're mock-ups, they're pretend things you put on and then they do this. And so, would you like a café crème? Oh yeah. Didn't matter. It was the transmission of a beautiful culture and experience. So that happens to us every day. Every day. And so Kelly went to get earrings. I went to get a lipstick. And it was done with such care, that I started crying. I was so touched. There were two women there, and they were upset and said, "What's wrong? Are you okay?" In their beautiful French accent. And I said, I'm okay. It's just that I lost my husband a year ago, and he would have loved to have been here. And they were like, "Oh, can we do anything?" And they put their arms around me. It was so wonderful. It was transforming. So it's everywhere. And maybe we miss seeing that. I found I had to get in touch with that poor little Irish South Side of Chicago girl that didn't know what to do with the finger bowl to walk in. So it's challenge those things. Do it anyway. See what happens. So, yeah. So stuff changes, even at 72. So, Buddha came up with all these ideas. Things are impermanent. Everything's burning. Everything's changing. Nothing lasts. Not even me. There is dissatisfaction, physical, psychological suffering, because things change, and we don't like that. No self. We are a construction of all our conditioning and culture. So what is it that lasts? Anything? What's there? So because we like things the way they are, even though they're uncomfortable, we persist. And it's, wow, how about that? Even the things that we're bugged about, we maintain because we feel better about that, because it's secure, because change is so difficult. I've got 11 more pages to go here, folks. So here during Rohatsu, we're investigating this. We're investigating how we can develop the ability not to be jerked around by our likes and dislikes. And transformation only works when it's connected to our experience. You can't just think transformation. It's a felt sense. It's felt. So Suzuki Roshi had kind of an interesting word for this. It's kind of like, what is your inmost request? Your deepest inmost request. And it's a little bit different than a calling, which is a little bit out there and is tied to attaining something. And so if we get hooked in attainment, it's, well, I'll be happy. If I get that Dior lipstick, I'll look really good. Or if I get this, I'll be fine. If I accomplish this, everything's going to be okay. Well, maybe so, but the satisfaction is fleeting. It doesn't last. Doesn't mean you don't feel good about it, but at the time, or that you really appreciate what it is, it just doesn't last. Okay, so another way to think of this might be that deep wish is to be fully alive and content for no other reason than simply just being alive. So it's a sense about that. And this deep wish includes transformation, liberation, wisdom, and compassion. Mondo Zen gives us a taste of that when we connect to clear, deep heart mind. Can you anchor there? Anchor there. in the vast field. So I encourage you, Rohatsu, particularly because we have the stillness here, to have a desperate desire to see life. To see light. There needs to be that intention, that desperation to do this. I'm going to see what's real. I'm going to see what's here. Now we have vows to help us with this. Liberate all beings. Serve all beings. Experience my messed up shadow states. Enlighten them. Throw the flashlight on them. Look in the corners. Embody all the teachings. And being on the path forever, no matter what. Whew. That's a lot of stuff. So, and it may not be practically possible in one human lifetime to do all these things, to accomplish these. And so why do we even bother with this stuff? You know, it's like, Trungpa would frequently say something like, a vow you can easily accomplish isn't even worth taking. You have to fire up the intention and always come back to it. If we're always looking for attaining something, it's outside there. Outside. It's about our commitment to the intention. So we keep showing up and showing up and showing up. And I think if I've counted, this might be our 28th Rohatsu. That's a lot of Rohatsus. So, attainment is less important than the intention itself. And I was just so loving being in the library here. All these wonderful books. It's so great. And it's like, unlike, and we can read all the books we want, but that's not wisdom. Wisdom is expressed when we're living with how things actually are. And having the knowledge around the path is great, but it's actually being on the path is wisdom. And we confuse reality with our own stories about it. So investigate, look. Examine our mind closely with meditation. And meditation isn't about fixing anything. It comes from a Latin root that means to ponder or contemplate. There's no fixing in that. It's holding that question, holding it. Reality is beyond our conceptual grasp. It's a mystery. We can't grab it with our brains. We cannot nail a stake in the sky. We could try. Our bodies and minds are the absolute. I can't say this exactly. It's like, it's an expression of undivided activity of everything, everywhere, all at once. You kind of choke on that one bit. I am. It's like everything, everywhere, all at once. And maybe it's a little, I haven't seen that movie. Actually, it's actually called that, I guess. About a woman who's in the metaverse because she needs to learn some different tools in order to solve some problems. That's an interesting concept, right? Yeah. So Yeah, so, okay, we're on the next page now. It's like, so what is it? This is the question. What is it that I really want? At the depth of your being, what is it that I really want? And don't answer with your thinking mind. Hold that question. Hold it. Turn it back to yourself. This is about listening to yourself without an opinion. I always think, can I listen without an opinion? Listen to yourself without an opinion. Okay? Things come and go. When we're sitting, not moving. We are actually manifesting the potential for all activity. That's why we sit still. We're giving ourselves that experience of the potential of all activity. When we're silent, we're giving ourselves the potential of all sound. So, this is a trick. Listen. A bunch of coins fell. This is a well-insulated floor. First was a clatter. That's our mind. Busy, busy, busy. I want to listen to the sound between the coins, the sound between the thought. No space, no sound. Accept whatever comes up in your mind. This is kind of the biggest one. This is a thing that we all struggle with. This mind is a mind that is not disturbed by disturbance. Awareness is not disturbed by disturbance. It's sort of like we focus on the background, anchor in the background. This is clear, deep heart mind. It doesn't mean that disturbances don't occur. The sky is not upset because there's a cloud. So if we identify with the sky, no problem. One day might be shady, one day might be stormy. The sky is not disturbed. It's just being sky. If we're always focused on the disturbance, we miss the larger field. Yeah. And when we identify with the sky, it doesn't mean the clouds disappear. Thoughts come and go, feelings come and go, people come and go. I want to share a poem. There's an interesting story about Chiyono. And Chiyono was a 13th century Japanese woman. And there are a lot of stories about her. There's kind of myth and history and stuff. And she studied with a Chinese Rinzai Zen master. in his Chinese name, and I'm going to have trouble with this one. Okay.
Basui.
Wu Shui Su Yu. Some stories say she was a young, ignorant woman that was kind of sweeping out the zendo. And another was that, and I think this might be historically more it, that she was a Japanese woman who was middle-aged, and after she raised her family, wanted to be in a monastery. So we're not really sure, but the story is wonderful. And she worked very hard doing a lot of menial tasks in the monastery. And she asked one of the nuns, how could I attain the way of Buddha even though I don't have any skills and don't know anything? I'm ignorant. And the nun said, this is wonderful. And she has don't know mind. In Buddhism, there's no distinction between people. And a person must hold fast to the desire to wake up. Again, not cognitive. And I love cognitive, right? And develop a heart of compassion. People are complete as they are. And Shiono said, with this practice as my companion, I only have to go about my daily life. That's pretty straightforward. Practicing day and night. So one of her jobs was to carry water. And she had this bucket that kept leaking. And so she kept trying to patch it up and fix it up, repair it. It was the only bucket she had. So she had to keep it, in order to do her job, to carry water, she had to keep it in good shape. So one day she was carrying a bucket back to the monastery, and she was gazing at the reflection in the bucket, a beautiful reflection of the moon. And as she was looking at it, the bottom fell out, spilling water everywhere and dissolving the moon's reflection. In that moment, she realized that all her ideas about herself and about how things were delusion. And she woke up. She spoke with Wu Shui Su Yuan, who was in Japan, because he was a Rinzai master, and he actually eventually brought samurai Zen, Rinzai Zen to the samurai. And he made her his Dharma heir. She's the first woman to receive Rinzai Zen transmission, 13th century. And she went on to establish a monastery herself. And her statue is still in Kyoto and is honored and considered a national treasure. So her poem, this is from Zen Flesh, Zen Bones. In this way, I tried to save the old pail, since the bamboo strip was weakening and about to break, until at last the bottom fell out. No more water in the pail. No more moon in the water. So may your buckets break this session. And it made me think a lot about how we have our own buckets that we keep repairing and shoring up, and even though they're leaking water, and we keep doing the same old thing over and over again. So it's wonderful to have a bucket that breaks, so you can see what's real. I know Jimpo would frequently say, open up your eyes in the back of your skull. Open those eyes. There's a I found this. I was just going through stuff. I don't know where I found this. This was on a piece of paper in a book. And so I'd love to give the person credit for it, but I just have this. So whoever you are unknown, I give you credit. You can relish a rainbow and a cup of tea, sunrise and a flock of birds, a cemetery walk and a friend's newborn, the first blush of wildflowers in a patch of dirt, and the looping rapture of an old song. You can't tidy up the White House, but you can tidy up the neglected, messy corner in your house. You can't mend the world, but you can mend the hole in your pocket. They are not the same thing, but they're part of the same thing, which is all there is, life giving life to itself. Through us, moment by moment, one broken, beautiful thing at a time. So sit in silence. Be still, do not move. Hold the question. Open your eyes in the back of your skull. Break your bucket.